Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Let me begin with a simple question. If you were asked to build a house tomorrow, would you start buying bricks and cement immediately? Probably not. The first thing you would do is consult an architect and prepare a blueprint. That blueprint tells you where each room will be, what materials are needed, how much it will cost, and how long it will take. Research follows exactly the same principle. Before collecting data or performing laboratory experiments, every researcher needs a research plan. A research plan is the blueprint that guides the entire research project from beginning to end.
Many students believe that research starts with collecting data, but that's a common misconception. Research actually begins with careful planning. A well-developed research plan tells us what will be studied and why it is important. It explains how the study will be conducted and who will participate. It specifies what data will be collected and how the data will be analyzed. It outlines what resources will be required. Without a proper plan, research can become confusing, expensive, and unreliable. So what exactly is a research plan? A research plan is a detailed written document that describes every stage of a research study. Think of it as a roadmap. When you travel to a new city, a GPS guides you to your destination and even suggests alternate routes if you take a wrong turn. Similarly, a research plan guides the researcher throughout the study and helps avoid unnecessary mistakes. It is much more than a list of activities. It is a complete strategy for conducting scientific research in a logical and systematic manner. Now, let me ask you another question. Why do we spend so much time preparing a research plan instead of starting the study immediately? The answer is simple. Good planning saves time, money, and effort. A research plan provides clear direction, prevents duplication of previous work, and ensures efficient use of available resources, such as manpower, equipment, and finances. It also improves communication between researchers, supervisors, collaborators, funding agencies, and ethics committees. Most importantly, careful planning improves the quality of research by reducing bias and ensuring that appropriate methods and statistical analyses are selected before the study begins. The first step in developing a research plan is selecting the research topic. Let me ask you this. If someone asks you to conduct research on cancer, is that a good research topic? The answer is no, because it is too broad. A better topic would be association between dietary habits and colorectal cancer among adults in central India. A focused topic is easier to investigate and produces more meaningful results. While selecting a topic, researchers should consider whether it is scientifically important, socially relevant, feasible, ethically acceptable, and personally interesting. Remember, research often takes months or years, so choosing a topic that genuinely interests you will help maintain your motivation. Once the topic has been selected, the next step is defining the research problem. The research problem should clearly describe the issue that needs to be investigated. For example, simply saying study of hypertension is too vague. A better problem statement would be factors associated with uncontrolled hypertension among adults attending primary health centers in Bilaspur. A well-defined research problem provides direction to the entire study and helps formulate clear objectives. After defining the problem, researchers conduct a review of the literature. Imagine preparing for an examination without reading your textbooks. Would you perform well? Probably not. Similarly, researchers need to know what other scientists have already discovered.
Literature review involves reading scientific journals, books, conference proceedings, theses, government reports, and online databases such as PubMed, Scopus, and Web of Science. This helps identify existing knowledge, understand previous methodologies, and avoid repeating studies that have already been completed. While reviewing the literature, researchers often discover a research gap. Let me explain this with an example. Suppose several studies have examined obesity among adults. Very few have studied obesity among tribal adolescents in Chhattisgarh. That unanswered question becomes the research gap. Identifying such gaps provides a strong scientific justification for conducting the proposed study. The next step is to formulate the aim and objectives of the research. The aim describes the overall purpose of the study. The objectives are the specific tasks that help achieve that aim. Good objectives should follow the SMART principle: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For example, if the aim is to study the relationship between physical activity and obesity among university students, the objectives may include determining the prevalence of obesity, assessing physical activity levels, evaluating the association between physical activity and body mass index.
Next, researchers develop research questions and hypotheses. A research question clearly states what the researcher wants to answer. For example, does smoking increase the risk of lung cancer? Or is there an association between sleep duration and academic performance? In analytical studies, these questions are converted into hypotheses. The null hypothesis states that no relationship exists, whereas the alternative hypothesis predicts that a relationship does exist. Statistical analysis later determines whether the hypothesis is supported by the evidence.
Another important component of the research plan is selecting an appropriate research design. The research design is the overall strategy that answers the research question. Depending on the objectives, researchers may choose descriptive, analytical, observational, experimental, qualitative, quantitative, cross-sectional, or longitudinal designs. Choosing the right design is crucial because it determines how data will be collected and analyzed. Next step is selecting the study population and sampling method. Let me ask you another question. If you want to know the average blood pressure of all adults in India, can you examine everyone? Of course not. Instead, researchers select a representative sample using techniques such as simple random sampling, systematic sampling, stratified sampling, cluster sampling, or convenience sampling. A properly selected sample allows researchers to draw valid conclusions about the larger population.
Now, let's discuss variables. Variables are characteristics that can change or be measured. Suppose you want to study whether regular exercise reduces blood pressure. Here, exercise is the independent variable because it is the factor being studied. Blood pressure is the dependent variable because it is the outcome being measured. Other factors such as age, gender, smoking, or socioeconomic status may also influence blood pressure. These are called confounding variables, and researchers must control them to obtain reliable results. The research plan should also include a data collection plan. Researchers need to decide what information will be collected, how it will be collected, who will collect it, and what instruments will be used. Data may be obtained through questionnaires, interviews, observations, laboratory investigations, clinical examinations, or medical records.
Reliable and validated tools ensures that the collected data are accurate and trustworthy. Equally important is the data analysis plan. Before collecting any data, researchers should already know how they will analyze it. They decide which statistical software will be used, what descriptive and inferential statistical tests are appropriate, what level of statistical significance will be accepted, and how the results will be presented. Planning statistical analysis in advance prevents inappropriate analyses and improves the scientific quality of the study.
Research plan is complete without considering research ethics. Ethical research protects the rights, safety, and dignity of participants. Researchers must obtain informed consent and ensure voluntary participation. They must maintain confidentiality, protect privacy, and obtain approval from the Institutional Ethics Committee before beginning the study. Ethical considerations are especially important when research involves human participants or animals. Another important aspect of the research plan is preparing a time schedule. Every project should have realistic timelines for activities such as literature review, protocol preparation, and ethical approval. It should also include pilot study, data collection, data analysis, report writing, and publication. Many researchers use a Gantt chart to monitor progress and ensure that the project remains on schedule.
Research plan also includes budget planning. Research always costs money, whether it involves laboratory equipment, chemicals, travel, printing, data collection, statistical consultation, or publication charges. Preparing a realistic budget helps researchers estimate expenses and increases the chances of obtaining financial support from funding agencies. Researchers should also describe the expected outcomes of the study. These may include generating new scientific knowledge, publishing research papers, developing new diagnostic methods, improving healthcare practices, making policy recommendations, or developing innovative technologies. Clearly stating the expected outcomes highlights the significance and potential impact of the proposed research.
Let's discuss the characteristics of a good research plan. A good research plan should be clear, logical, systematic, scientifically sound, feasible, ethical, economical, flexible, and based on existing scientific evidence. It should have clearly defined objectives and be capable of producing reliable, valid, and reproducible findings. Before I conclude, let me ask you one final question. If you were planning your first research project today, which part of developing a research plan do you think would be the most challenging? Choosing the topic, reviewing the literature, deciding the methodology, or planning the statistical analysis? Share your answer in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts.
Successful research does not begin in the laboratory. It begins on paper with a carefully prepared research plan. The more time you spend planning, the smoother your research journey will be. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more videos on research methodology, scientific writing, and biostatistics. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next lecture.